Now listen, I'm glad for this, okay? JJ the CPA here. I mean, really, I'm glad for this. When you kind of just mix two things together, though, you're just like, are you freaking kidding me? So the Senate has reached a last-minute deal, like breaking in the last minutes, 30 minutes. The Senate has reached a deal to extend PPP. I hope they rename it because it's going to be a whole new set of rules if this comes into play, which sounds like it will. So here we are. When this is getting released, it'll be moments before July 1st, moments before PPP expires. PPP is expiring. It's over. Okay, it's over as we know it, as I've said in other videos. What the Senate is talking about doing is extending it, but with more restrictions. So of the money that's left, they are indicating in the draft of the bill, which the House needs to approve, still needs to get put into law, of course, but that they are going to limit it to those employers that have 100 or less employees, and they're going to set aside $25 billion. This is in the draft bill, $25 billion for the employers that have 10 or less employees. Don't know of anything related to the self-employed because the self-employed don't have employees. You're not technically considered an employee, you're considered self-employed. So I don't know how it'll affect the self-employed. I'm sure there'll be something in there for the Schedule C filers, self-employed gig workers. Maybe not, who knows? But part of what just blows me away, okay, is that they can extend, which is great, the PPP, okay? But, you know, this expires around midnight. We're not around. It expires at midnight. I don't know if it's Eastern Standard Time or Pacific Time, but it expires in moments on June 30, okay? It expires. And what the IRS has announced yesterday, and very disappointingly, very disappointed to learn that the American Institute of CPAs is not going to advocate, but both of these entities are saying not going to extend the July 15th deadline. So here I am, I'm doing some tax returns. I took a break to record a couple of videos. What I'm trying to tell you is, like, it's almost midnight Eastern Standard Time, so almost 11 o'clock here in Oklahoma. I'm doing tax returns, which I'm happy to do, but we can't extend the July 15th deadline. We can't move that, but we can extend giving out over $100 billion, which I'm happy and glad that we're doing that. But things just don't add up for me here. So for me, why does it even matter about the July 15th deadline? Well, that's when penalties start to accrue for those that owe tax. And for those that, for whatever reason, they just enjoy making, and I don't mean on my videos, but like on Twitter, I just don't understand the people that enjoy saying, well, you should just pay your taxes all on time anyways, and you shouldn't owe taxes, and blah, 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 blah. I mean, gosh, I guess that makes you feel really good about yourself that you don't owe any taxes. So at the end of the day, quite frankly, every single one of my clients jumps up and down and is excited when they owe taxes, because that means they didn't give the money to the government until they had to. And we design it to do it in a way that they don't pay any penalties or interest. Those that get huge refunds and get excited about them, I get it. But all you did was give a free loan to the government, and now you're going to wait for the money to come back to you. Reason I'm saying all this is that there are plenty of people out there that owe tax, and it doesn't mean that they're irresponsible. It doesn't mean that they're a deadbeat. It means that they're smart, first of all. Second, that's a lot of business owners. You know, when you're paying taxes throughout the year, you pay the required amount, And the required amount is the lesser of current year tax or prior year tax. Now there's a 110% rule and a 90% rule, which I won't get into, but the point is that many self-employed individuals, they pay in throughout the year what they're required to pay in. Typically that's based on the prior year. And then when they hit April 15th, they pay the difference. That's just how it works. It's different for employees, I get it, because you have withholdings, et cetera. You're not paying estimated tax payments usually throughout the year. But July 16th is when the penalties are added on to taxes that are due for 2019. And for first and second quarter 2020 estimated tax payments, if you don't pay the right amount, no one knows, or the IRS doesn't know until you file the return, that is. They don't know if you've paid in the right amount until you file the return. But if you hadn't paid in the right amount for the July 15th, first and second quarter, there's some ways you can annualize it on Form 2210, kind of getting into the weeds there. But nonetheless, just in general, penalties start potentially on July 16th. My clients don't get penalties. I know how to make sure that we're paying in what we need to, and if they don't have to, and to ensure that they're not paying penalties. So I've got a number of clients that were in a set of circumstances where they owe tax. They're probably gonna be able to pay it. My clients aren't surprised by what they would owe. But I do know that every small business owner out there, a lot of times the money that they have set aside for taxes is also the same money they use for their mortgage or emergencies, or when their business is falling short on funds and they got to make payroll. And so sometimes businesses and those owners, like selflessly, had to use their funds, their savings, to cover expenses, which may also include the money they were setting aside, for taxes. And so it's so easy. It's just the strike of a pen, so to speak. Type it in really quick to move this deadline. When you file an extension, it's not an extension of time to pay. It's just an extension of time to file. Well, everybody can get an extension like that to October 15th. I mean, like that. You file Form 4868 like that. You don't have to sign it. You can electronically file it. You can do it on the IRS website. Our clients will do it electronically like that. I mean, it gets approved like that. But July 15th marks when you have to pay these taxes. And I understand it can be the mindset of like, well, but the government needs those money, so they need people to pay that in. It's like, well, am I hitting myself in the head on this side with a hammer, while on this side I'm putting ice on it? Like, things aren't adding up. They're not matching up. The government's bringing a bunch of ice, but on this side they're pounding our head with this deadline. The deadline being that penalties and interest start to add on. I mean, we're extending PPP to give out billions. I'm glad for it. We're extending the deadline to give out billions. But we're not extending, or we're not moving the mark down the road when it comes to this deadline. To me, it seems like easy relief. I mean, you remove the penalties from those that are having to pay the tax. You're giving a little more time to be able to pay in those taxes. So it just doesn't make any sense to me. And so here I am doing tax returns, which I'm thankful to do. I said that. And it's going to be a whole new set of rules. It's going to have to be an update to the application. It sounds like you're going to be able to get money in addition to PPP 1. Like if you already got PPP, it sounds like you can get part of PPP 2. So I'm going to have clients that are going to need help with that. And I've got clients that we're trying to finish up tax returns, and I got clients that we're trying to figure out July 15th. I would really appreciate it if the the government could get all on the same page of what we're trying to do here. We're trying to provide relief to Americans by giving out billions of PPP. These are the same Americans that owe tax. These are the same Americans that have to file returns. These are the same Americans and businesses that their businesses have been closed, right? Or not able to work, just the same as my industry. So, just the frustration that comes into play is that there's been so much going on for everyone. CARES Act, tax credits, retroactive tax changes, all for awesomeness, like beautiful, no complaints on any of that. But getting your hands around it, updating it, then here comes another SBA guideline, another SBA guideline. Oh, we got new sets of forgiveness applications. Oh, now it's a Flexibility Act. Oh, now we got to update those applications for forgiveness. Oh, and by the way, we're going to come out with a new application to get PPP. And oh, we're going to give you an easy. And all those things are great, right? And if you think about it, we're talking like in a last 100 days. And we're supposed to get tax returns done and get our taxes paid in. So I don't know. I mean, really at this point, no one's listening to the small business owner, in my opinion. No one's listening to the small CPA practice, the small EA practice, the small tax pro practice. They're not listening, in the sense that the relief we need as well is on the taxes, on the deadline. So I don't know. There's obviously nothing we're going to be able to do about it. I've written letters. I've contacted American Institute of CPAs. I've sent emails to the AICPA. I wrote a letter to the government officials, and I've been tweeting about it and tagging them. And I get it. I'm nobody. Just like pretty much everybody else that is trying to let the government know of the hardship of the July 15th deadline. They don't care. They just don't. They could care less. The IRS doesn't care. I'm usually the biggest defender of the IRS in the sense they're just doing their job. Just punitive that they came out yesterday and said, we're not going to move the deadline. Just disgusting. I'm not going to continue my membership with the American Institute of CPAs because they chose not to advocate for moving the deadline. It just doesn't even make any sense. This is an organization that represents CPAs, and they don't want to advocate moving the deadline that helps clients, it helps America. And how? Not having penalties assessed. How does it help CPAs? Well, it gives them more time to be able to help their clients, help with PPP, right? Supposedly there was this survey that was done of 1,000 CPAs, and the CPAs, according to this article that the AICPA did, there was a survey, and some of the CPAs said, hey, don't you dare move it. Some of the CPAs have said, well, it's just our clients are just going to procrastinate even more. Or, you're just making it worse on my client because they got to get their taxes paid in. So the one thing I want to say is for those CPAs that said that, I hope you get out of the business. I hope you lose every one of your clients. I hope your clients hear that and how disgusting and how manipulative that is and how disrespectful that is to your clients. It's disgusting. It's selfish. Okay, get out of the business. I mean, really, you're going to tell your client, like, hey, you're just a procrastinator, so you need to get your stuff in here anyways. Who are you? What are you doing in this business? And why are you working with somebody that's like that? Okay, if your CPA is an ass to you, or an EA, or your tax pro, fire them, go somewhere else. Hell, go to H&R Block before you work with somebody like that.